We're in the first week of April, which also happens to be the first week of Autism Awareness. This is the Autism Awareness Month, and we're going to speak to Caroline Makana and Eli Oenga, who are parents of a 14-year-old autistic son. Okay, so Caroline, maybe you could tell us what autism is in the simplest form possible.
It's been such a difficult thing to explain to people, especially because it's not like a physical disability. It's a very neurodevelopmental issue, meaning it's a very behavioral condition. Children with autism have just issues really with the socialization, like how they socialize with others. So they're very reclusive, they spend a lot of time alone, so they tend to be loners, yeah.
Indicators of autism usually come in at 2 years or 3 years. When did you find out that your son had autism?
When Ethan was about 18 months, he had his vaccination, and then about 2 weeks later he developed fever, and then you'd call him, but he wouldn't respond to his name. He wasn't giving us eye contact, and I was like, what's wrong with this child? There was a lot of stuff going on in our family. So what happened is, my brother was sick, he was in hospital, and we were in the UK. It was just a difficult time. So what I did was, I just really focused on my brother, and we were just raising my son, my mom and I. I was a single mom. I think I just pushed it to the back burner. But what we knew is that there was something wrong with Ethan. We just didn't know what. And you know, he'd just be playing with other kids, but a bit reclusive, doing his own thing. I didn't really get time to start processing it properly until we came to Kenya. I went to the Gertrudes in Muthaiga, and then they just assess your child. And then after that assessment, they said that Ethan is on the autism spectrum, and I was like, wow, okay. I'd heard about it, but I had no idea what it was. And I remember thinking, no, where do I start, you know? It was just a lot.
One of the challenges that a lot of parents with autistic children go through is unsolicited parenting, where maybe someone will come up to you and say something like, oh, your child looks really spoiled, you should discipline him. Have you ever experienced anything like this, or are there any other challenges that you've gone through as a mom with an autistic child?
Like there's a day we were in the supermarket, and then there was this man, and Ethan was just being unsettled, throwing tantrums, and you know he was non-verbal, completely non-verbal by then. And this man was like, huyu mtoto wako unatakana umdiscipline. You know, you're like, how do I respond to this person? Because then you can't start explaining that they're autistic. And you know, the first thing is to maybe be rude, because you're feeling a bit angry as well at the same time. And I said, let me just let it be. So we just continued shopping. I ignored it. But it kind of does hurt, because then you're like, you have no idea this journey. You don't know what it means and what it feels like, you know. And then you'd meet other parents, maybe who've had a bit of experience. And then it was always like, you're not doing this right. Try this, remove this. Why don't you go see this doctor? Go and do this, go and do that. I mean, a lot of it comes from a good place, but it feels a bit overwhelming. It hasn't been easy, especially as a single mother. A lot of the decisions I made were basically by myself. Just sitting, asking God, you know, why do you allow this sort of thing to happen? And as you go through the journey, you realize, you know, it's not really God who changes them. They change you, you know. They change you. So I think a lot of the things I've been able to do in my life were because of, you know, him being autistic.
Okay, most of the time the experience of mothers with autistic children is not the same as dads in the way that they deal with their child. Could you maybe just talk to us a little bit about your experience with your son, and maybe any advice you would have for dads who have autistic children?
For me, overall, it's a wonderful experience. Autistic children are lovely. Dads out there, these kids need you. They are wonderful. In fact, they are pure in their intentions.
I think the beautiful thing about when Ellie came into our lives was that, you know, that father figure wasn't really there. you know, it's an encouragement to other women out there who are single and may not think, you know, that they can meet you know, a man that can love their child like they love them. And it's possible, you know. And that's my faith walk and my testimony in this life, I guess.
Because autistic children love to be by themselves and they seclude themselves sometimes, has this affected Ethan in the way that he interacts with his siblings? Does he get along with his siblings, or how does that work?
The three boys, I hope they form a bond, and you can see Elroy loves to play with Ethan. Any moment he wants to be on Ethan's laps, and you know, and Ethan is getting to know and understand what's going on.
And as time goes by, you realize, okay, this is not something you can just fix with medication, with anything. So I would advise parents to just take it one day at a time. Don't be ashamed to ask for help.